at Benzinga 2023. April, Dimitri Downing here again with my co-host, George.
Stantchev, Pure 5.
But you got to do your tagline, too. I like the tagline.
Better, cheaper, faster extraction.
Benzinga is buzzing on Thursday. There's industry professionals, cool people everywhere, industry leaders. We have the great fortune of having two. First of all, I don't know Kim Sanchez, but I heard her speak yesterday, and there was like 5 panelists. And I'm like, we have to have her on the podcast. So thank you for just randomly joining us. This is fantastic. And Aaron Smith was walking through the hallways. This is the kind of individual you just spot. So we had to grab him. I mean, he's like a legend in the whole cannabis world. So we had to grab him. So we're jumped on. Thank you for jumping on, Aaron.
Yeah, man.
And thank you, Kim, for joining us.
Sure.
So I want to focus a little bit on who you guys are, your journey through cannabis, so people can get to know you, what your companies are, where you're at, and how they get a hold of you. It's a pretty simple process. And if you have anything really cool or really sexy, I'm thinking about Aaron. I'm thinking about the stories that you could tell about the cannabis industry. And Kim, we're just getting to know each other. This guy has like a lot of experience. But we'll get into. We should do a whole podcast on you later. But let's start with Kim. You want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Kim Sanchez Rael. I'm co-founder and CEO of Azuka. And Azuka develops advanced formulations for all forms of ingestible cannabis. So beverages, any edible you can think of. And what we do is we have figured out ways to process the cannabis molecule, which is an oil, right? So think of this as a THC molecule. We encapsulate it in a hydrophilic coating, and then we can put that into any edible or beverage and make it fast-acting, which is kind of table stakes now over traditional edibles. Like, they have to be fast-acting. But more importantly, we can deliver a Delta-9 euphoric smoker's high now in an edible form. So key to social consumption for people who don't want to inhale is to be able to have that euphoric experience in a beverage or an edible. So we can deliver that now, and they taste great. So, and what we do is we license these formulations to brands and manufacturers. We have license agreements covering about 20 states, Canada, Puerto Rico, South America. And so, for example, one of our brand partners is Wana. We love working with the Wana team. We're the quick in Wana Quick. So if you are a brand or a manufacturer and are looking to take your edible, your formulation, your beverage to the next level, we'd love to be your sort of Intel Inside partner.
Aaron's probably besties with the founder of Wana, knowing his history. So let me real quickly introduce Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith, you want to introduce the audience?
Yeah, thanks for pulling me in here. I was just coming over to say hi, but
no, it's good.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Smith, the CEO and co-founder of National Cannabis Industry Association, and for going on just over 12 years, we've been representing independent businesses in Washington, D.C., making sure that the voices in the cannabis industry that aren't otherwise heard have a seat at the table as we move for national legalization. And so it's great to be here and connect with a lot of old friends and new alike. This is a really exciting time in DC as we have a new Congress. We have a couple years left of the current term of the administration, and I think that we do have opportunity to get safe banking and perhaps some other possibilities around the edges, and then 5 years out, comprehensive cannabis reform.
Aaron's name's up there with the likes of the Steve Foxes, the Chris Cranes, the Rob Campias, the Andrew D'Angelos, the OGs, the guys who've been legalizing cannabis and helping push the needle forward state by state and eventually at the federal level since 2010. You've been around. So we really appreciate you. So one of the reasons why I grabbed you, so people know you, it's just a sign of respect. This is Aaron Smith. He's in the house.
Check out thecannabisindustry.org to find out more about our association. But we're doing what every other industry does, which is make sure that they have a platform to advocate across the country and finally get this plant legal.
Yeah, and then one of the things I was listening to Kim speak yesterday, and I was like, wow, that person, the world needs to know her. And I saw your panel. I'm like, I was hoping I'd run into you. So how did you get involved in this? What was your start? The cannabis world?
Most of my background is in tech and finance. I call myself a recovering venture capitalist, but I really, a few years ago, wanted to move into the wellness industry. And to be quite honest with you, I was one of those people who was like completely brainwashed in the Nancy Reagan just say no generation. I was not a cannabis person. And I was introduced to Ron Silver, who is the other founder at Azuka. And I said no twice because I for a lot of reasons. I live in Albuquerque. He lives in New York. I'm like, there's 13 million people in New York.
So the two of you are co-founders.
You can find a CEO in New York. You don't need one in Albuquerque. Anyway, long story short, I decided to take a pause and really diligence the industry, and I was absolutely ignorant on the history of criminalization. So once I unpacked what had happened in this industry and around this plant, I went from, afraid of cannabis to skeptical to like, oh wow, this is interesting, to all the way in. So I did that whole journey, right? I bought all that propaganda that they fed us, when we were little
this
kids.
is one of the guys you should thank for unraveling the whole thing.
Well, thank you.
Are you guys NCIA members? You have to be an NCIA member.
We have been
NCIA.
We have been. I am not currently, but we can talk because I really believe I started my career on Capitol Hill working in the U.S. Senate, so I get it, right?
Lobby days. Lobby days are coming up in May.
Yeah, lobby days is coming up.
I know a lot of people up there, and I'd love to help out because I think advocacy for anyone listening who's in this industry needs to be involved. You need to know your members of Congress on a first name basis, which means you need to show up and support them.
We have a recruit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? When they're trying to do their work too, right? It's not a one. Having those relationships is not a one-way street. So that's how I came to cannabis. I was looking for something in wellness. I was tired of working in tech. And, the universe sort of said, you are going to come do cannabis. And it sort of goes all the way back to when I was a little girl and I loved mixing concoctions. And, the first book I bought when I was 12 with my babysitting money was, some home remedy, concoction. So I've been mixing up botanical stuff since I was, shorter than this. So it was kind of coming back home to me. But yeah, I did have that Nancy Reagan just say no, nightmare period of my life.
No, me too.
Yeah.
I got my education from the guys in the industry. I started to realize that I came in the industry like as a businessman looking for money, and I started to realize there's the good guys. The good guys are with NORML. The good guys are with Weed Maps. The good guys are with NCIA. The good guys are with the MPP. And it took me like 2012, 2013, 2015 to understand that this was a community, a movement. And it got me into like naturopathic medicine and holistic medicine, and out of the doctor pill conservative thinking got me into yoga. I mean, the cannabis industry saved my life. I thought yoga was like for crazy ass hippies, before 2013, 14, 15, 2016. Now I got my certification in yoga, and it has saved. So the cannabis industry saved my life. I use edibles to sleep sometimes. And it helped me understand substance abuse. Right. I was abusing the hell out of alcohol in 2012, 13, 14, 15. You probably remember me at some of the conferences. I was drunk, And now I'm like sober up. I use my substances unbelievably responsible. It's a great industry. It's a great movement. It's a great political movement. And why the hell aren't we federally legal yet, Aaron?
Well, there's a lot of inertia behind decades and nearly a century of prohibition, but. Like Kim said, it's really important to know your members of Congress and to talk to them about these issues and just keep this at the top of the radar. There are hundreds and hundreds of different issues that Congress is looking at and priorities and thousands of lobbyists. And, cannabis is raising, kind of moving up the ranks in terms of the priorities on the minds of Congress. But we're still not there yet. We're still not at the top by any means. So, you mentioned lobby days. I think it's, that's a really good opportunity for anybody who really wants to see the inner workings of what's going on in Congress, what the marijuana lobby is talking about. Should be joining NCIA's lobby days.
May 16th and 18th.
16th.
I'm trying to get up there.
In Washington,
and there's
D.C.
it's really cool. It's not just lobbying; it's also networking with heavy hitters.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's really good. You meet, the top couple hundred, engaged cannabis industry leaders in the country. We set up meetings for you across 2 days on the Hill. We have a reception with members of Congress and VIPs in the Beltway. It's very impactful experience, and I think people make friends for life as well, just in the industry, because it's not just like going to an evening event where you're hanging out and meeting people for a couple hours. You're working together toward common cause for 2 days.
So, Kip, this is the idea behind Meet Unshackled. These are the conversations that happen in the hallways of these conferences, like at Benzinga. So, here's Aaron, hey Kim, how's it going? There's George. We're
going to be best friends.
I know you guys are. I mean, you are a capital, and you were talking a little bit about, and I want to share this first, but then I want to get into federal legalization, what you guys talk about in the panel, about what you think might happen there. But to talk about this, because you do mention in here, one of our sponsors, you have Jack Herrera in here, somewhere. What is this?
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to do, that our company wants to do, is really normalize cannabis consumption socially, and in particular in beverages, and as a replacement or substitute for alcohol. So
Right.
one of the things we have done is it's in there. So we've created a product that's a cannabis infused simple syrup. Every mixologist on the planet, every barista on the planet knows what to do with simple syrup. And so we want to make it just as normal as going to a bar and ordering, a margarita or any other beverage, but have your cannabis infused version, which is much healthier for the body than the alcohol infused version. So we created this. This is just a fun little thing. It's a recipe card for cannabis cocktails. The only cannabis ingredient you need is our infused simple syrup, which is very cost effective to produce. We can license it anywhere in the world. No capital investment required. And then we just give these things away. This is kind of fun. This is a little mixologist recipe card, right? So we made up some fun names like the Fancy Nancy Whiteman, the Marijanita. There's a Jack Herrera and Coke. Nito Mojito. This is my actual personal favorite cannabis beverage, which is a mojito made with our simple syrup.
We need like a Mita Margarita.
It's in there. It's in there. The Earl Fashioned. So the high ball. Anyway, the point is, you can have perfect cannabis cocktails today. You can be a distributor of this, And again, we just give this stuff away. We made it up for fun to make it easy and to normalize cannabis beverages socially. You can make these at home. So.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that, cause the fast titration and probably, relatively lower dose in beverages is the future. I think, that we've been talking about this replacing alcohol. And,
Absolutely.
Maybe in Minnesota you see, alcohol and cannabis beverages sold next to each other, and probably, hopefully more of that in the future.
It's safer than alcohol, so why
Absolutely.
not?
Right.
And hopefully one day, and I know the NCAA probably can't speak on this, but it's something that I'm really interested in, is I want to see direct from manufacturer or from farm to consumer or patient as quickly as possible. That kind of leaps over kind of some steps that people think are important, but really the patients and the consumers want direct from manufacturer consumer, just like wine, and so does Amazon, and so should history. And there's going to be a lot of debate about that at the federal, as it goes federally legal, as to how that structure looks and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
there's, and now NCIA supported like federal legislation that gets there. There's I can't remember, it's Earl Blumenauer's bill, but it was basically it would allow cannabis sold through the mail. That's why it was federal, so that you could have cannabis sold direct from a small farmer to a patient. I think there's room for that, and there's room for everything in between. There's no reason to take a protectionist view of this, the industry, because there's room for everybody.
The old Dimitri might have approved of a protectionist concept, but I caught the bug of the spirit of liberty and freedom that comes from. I'm not sure if it's from the cannabis plant or the cannabis community, but to me it's like one and the same.
Well, it's a bit, this country. I mean, it's a inclination is to protect what you have. I mean, when NCIA started in 2010, there was no adult use, so a lot of the medical businesses were saying, "Hang on a second, don't support legalization. That's going to disrupt what we have." Well,
Right.
Now look, so the sky's the limit.
It took me a long time to realize you always have to do what's best for the patient and the consumer. That's what it always has to be. But there's a lot of special interests out there. I don't know, you probably wrestle with them. They're probably like saying, hey, what's the NCAA going to do to protect our retail? What about manufacturing? On these guys investing giant sums of money in indoor cultivation in New Jersey? What are they going to do when Oregon comes flooding through and the great California flower comes to, which the patients and consumers of New Jersey wants? Those are all, you're a Capitol Hill person.
Right.
You're aware they're going to be in Congress and Senate trying to nudge this, nudge that way. But I like what you guys do, just pushing the ball forward at the NCAA. It's really, really important at the federal level through the NCAA. That's really good stuff. So what you were speculating on federal legalization, what it might mean for the industry and the time frame yesterday?
Well, what I was really doing was starting to do the opposite, which was, there's work to do in Capitol Hill. I was really advocating that people in the industry don't bet their business model on the timing of federal change, because well, we thought we'd have some change by now.
Yeah.
And
But
it's
Aaron
been
needs
hard.
to work faster.
So, I thought for
and we
sure
need to be there with them in May.
for sure we'd have banking and 280E by now, right? So I'd love to see that, but yeah, I'm not going to give a prediction on when it's going to happen. I'm going to encourage everybody in the industry, because there's so much financial distress in the industry right now, is to really think about your business model, how to be profitable and efficient in the world we live in, right? And prepare for the future world. But in order to build a healthy industry, we have to also build growing profitable businesses in the world we live in today, and then work with your team and others to get the ball moved down the court.
Could you imagine we had 1 million people there in May, like May 16th?
The million cannabis operator march or something.
The million marijuana march, million member marijuana march, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. There's probably 800,000 plus licensed card carrying members of this industry now. In Arizona, I know we have 21,000 some odd card carrying members. In New Mexico, you guys have about 8,000, I think.
We're doing great in New Mexico.
In California, there must be like 100,000 card carrying members, industry professionals, I call them. From a bud tender with dreams and owner with an exit strategy, people building the infrastructure, the cannabis industry together. They are all industry professionals. And so they could gather a million strong and march.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all put that together?
Get that together for us the next month, Dimitri.
Well, we need corporate sponsors. So what kind of people should reach out to you?
If you are a brand or manufacturer and want to take your edibles ingestible program to the next level, give us a call. We'd love to work with you, love to talk to you. Azucatime.com is our website. I'm Kimberly at azucatime.com. And we've got a really cool new innovation that we just released that is game-changing in the edibles and beverage category, which is we have developed a way to deliver whole plant, fast-acting, strain-specific edibles with no extraction. So we take flower, right, and a product called Whole Plant Activator, which is a product that we developed that is essentially a proprietary blend of plant-derived food starches and gums, and then a special process that we license. But you take your flower, our activator, and you create an infusion, no capital equipment needed, and that infusion actually retains the terpene and cannabinoid profile of the flower itself into a fast-acting, full terpene, full cannabinoid profile ingredient. So you can then put that into a gummy, you can put that into a syrup for a beverage, which is really cool. And actually retain in edible form this Delta-9 strain-specific euphoric effect. So, game-changing. So,
it's amazing.
Call me.
Yeah,
I'll show you how to do that.
A lot of that was over my head. George?
Well, this is a great way to promote this plant and products. As you guys mentioned, it's been a hobby for a lot of people because this is a new industry. Come on, 10 years. Well, what executive you may have with that experience? Or, I also started the same way. I started picking plants like a little kid and making cheese, and I figured out cheese doesn't really work or they work slow. So what's the way to concentrate them? So here you go. Extraction comes concentrated, mix it, then everything is much stronger. Then it turned into hobby business first, and things like that. So, and this is a great way to put it back into the drink, something that you can consume every day. And this is another way to promote this plant, really natural, without any chemicals.
Back to the plant.
Yeah.
Awesome. You have the approval of our PhD scientist over there. Good job.
Excellent.
That was you. I was confused, but he's like, no, she's right.
You got this, right?
No, that's good. That's good. I'm a simple man. I understand simple things. But we thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And we got your Instagram already. We got that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Kim Sanchez Rael on LinkedIn. I'm the only one out there.
Kim
with that
Sanchez, on LinkedIn. Aaron Smith, everybody who watches this next week should try to get out to Lobby Days. If you're anywhere in the New York, New Jersey area, get down there, contact the NCIA. Aaron Smith, he's really easy to find everywhere. But what's the best way for people to find you?
Thecannabisindustry.org is our website, and you can reach me at Aaron, AARON, at thecannabisindustry.org.
Yes, and every single person who ever listens to this, please join the NCIA. They are pushing the ball forward on federal legalization, and we really appreciate what you do and what you've done historically with all the great guys and all the great leaders that I've met over the years that changed my attitude about things. You really changed my life coming through this industry. I was like that just say no your brain's gonna get fried.
Right.
Nancy Reagan
I can see it.
person, and I changed into like, wait, hold on a second. Everything on God's earth was put here for a reason, and as long as you're using your substances responsibly, medicinally, therapeutically, you're not dependent, and all that kind of stuff, that's how you should be. So we really appreciate the work that you do, and I hope to see you in May. I'm trying to raise enough money to get there myself, so it is, you know, a little flight from Phoenix. It's kind of expensive, but I'll try, and maybe we'll see you in DC. And we'll definitely see you around the cannabis industry.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks
luck.
for having me.
Thank
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been another episode of Meat Unshackled.